So I wanted to put this little bit of information together about connecting Juan O Savin with Vincent Fuscas. And it kind of leads you into this area that Juan O Savin was talking about up in Seattle, and the Lions Gate being in Vancouver, and then Prince Harry and Meghan being in Vancouver. So I wanted to just tie this all together and show you how they use the comms to kind of show you different areas of the whole Venus map that's across North America, and also how they're kind of like putting it in our faces and basically saying, if you don't notice, then that's kind of your prerogative. So I just want to tie this all together. I found it interesting how the Vincent Fusca Juan O Savin connection is in this area. So Harry and Meghan were staying in this house called Melfleur, and it's owned by Gustra, supposedly. It's not confirmed 100%, but it's looking like that's where the ownership is from. So Millefleur means 1,000 flowers. It's an $18 million waterfront property. You can see here it's quite beautiful, and it's in this Vancouver area. So there they are with the guy. That's the guy that Gustra. And here's Harry looking like supposedly his real father. So his bloodline probably isn't the real royal family on his father's side. It's all speculation, but his name is James Hewitt. So Frank Gustra is a Canadian billionaire, philanthropist, and mining financier with ties to the Clintons, but he's saying he denies that he owns this. He has involvement with the Clintons' uranium controversy. So see how it's all getting tied together, all the comms. Okay, so David Foster kind of set them up with this guy, but you'll see here in this article, they also went hiking down in Horth Hill Regional Park, and this is all in Vancouver. So I just wanted to prove this point. And this is the Lions Gate up in Vancouver, at the top of the black line, and then you would get the Golden Gate and the Silver Gate, and that's the pentagram that basically the Masons kind of created over North America for the XX event, which you can go watch my other video about all that. If you notice in this pattern, it also has the upside down triangle with the phi line that goes to Winnipeg. It's really interesting because basically there was this big giant Venus transit in the 4th of December in 1639, and they calculated exactly 1630 months exactly to the day, which would be the 4th of July 1776, and that's all calculated through to create this kind of storybook to show, if people are paying attention, that there's something, an event going to be happening. And this is all back to the Templars and the Masons, and they created North America as like a mapping of showing people about the three gates, which is the Lions Gate in Vancouver, the Golden Gate, which is represented by the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and then the St. Louis Archway, which is the Silver Gate. And the reason this is so important is because Venus conjunctions in Earth, it's like Earth goes around 8 times, Venus goes around 13 times. It makes conjunctions 5 times, and where they meet, and it creates the 5-pointed pentagram star of the United States. And they've done this because everything is aligning with this event with the Venus conjunctions. And Venus conjunctions happen often in those 3 gates. So this is why they've mapped it all out like this. And the other crazy part about the math is if you divide 8 into 13, you get 1.625, which is 007 off of 5, which is God's math, golden ratio. So when I was checking this out, Horth Hill Regional Park, where they went for their little walk, happens to be, big giant redwoods there. And also it's referencing here that the San Juan Islands, and I'm going, San Juan Islands. So anyhow, I started digging around, and it's interesting what I found. So I just wanted to show you first the Lions Gate Bridge. You can see the double X on it and the 2 lions facing it for the double X event. Okay, so the map of this ends up coming onto the Route 99, which is like 9/11, 99. And also it's the namesake for the film company Lionsgate, and one of the films was The Final Destination. Haha. So every year they have this thing called the May Day around the Maypole and the May Queen. Now the May Queen is Venus. Okay, so she represents Venus. May Day originally was May 1st, but they moved it to Victoria Day, which is the Queen Victoria's birthday. Okay, so it also represents the Beltane Queen, the Beltane song. It's about a young woman who climbs on. It goes back to Arthur's, Arthur's seat, and washes her face in the morning dew, which is, I believe, is like the purple rain. It's the nectar, God's nectar, for when the event happens. And you can see its tradition in Wales, and also the change of date to Queen Victoria's birthday. It all ties in, the whole King Arthur story, the Welsh story. The first 6 presidents of the United States were Welshmen. They were trying to get away from the British control, and I'm going to do a whole other video on that, on Robert Morris and George Washington. They were best friends, and it was really trying to get away from the British control. This whole war between the Welsh and well, basically the Celts and the Brits. Here's a Beltane blessing, and these blessings and songs all go back to basically the event. If you start reading it, it's basically about Christ returning, being flocks with corn, the harvest. Down at the bottom here, it's the morning and evening, which is the morning star and evening star. It's back to Venus again, so it's all coded. I'm working with some historians about, Adrian Gilbert. He's a historian in England, and he's basically saying the father of Prince Arthur is named Morrig, which goes back to Morris. And then we also have the Robert Morris in the Apotheosis of Washington in the Rotunda, the painting with Mercury. Of course, it's only Venus and Mercury in that painting with George Washington on the rainbow, but that's a whole other video. This I just wanted to tie in because it ties into Trudeau and the whole blackface movement. This Morris dance ties to the blackface, so we get the real meaning of the blackface. So the whole history is about the Queen of Fairies and dressing up in blackface, and that you would go and poach if you were like not an elite, that you would go to do this poaching in blackface, so you were in disguise, and that's where it all came from. And eventually they created an act so that you weren't allowed to do it, but it has nothing to do with mocking black people. It's like it's really crazy how this stuff all gets twisted around. It's basically misrule. So it's like the rule was the monarchy, and then you were kind of going against the rule, so it was basically misrule, and you dressed up in blackface. So I kind of see this whole thing with Trudeau, like it all coming out with Trudeau doing the blackface. It's all part of the comms to bring us back to the true history of, fighting the rule of law. Okay, so back to the Venus star, and then we have the big triangle where the Olympics are. But way at the top in Nunavut is Leopold Island, and I've done a video on that. It's a bird sanctuary island, but he was a big Freemasonry person, and he came to Canada, and they probably mapped it out and named the crown after him, which is basically, in my opinion, the Pleiades is the crown of this whole Venus worship. And I just wanted to do a little etymology on Leopold's name. So everybody would assume it means lion, but it's actually bold people. So it's about awakening. We have to fight the rule of law, put on our blackface, and fight the fight the rule of law. Be part of that misrule. So it's basically a Saxon name. It's a real Brit name, and it's a scholar person. Every year on November 15th, they celebrate the king, and it's basically the Saint Leopold in Germany. So it's really that. It's the Saxons, and it's like, are we going to waken up to, go back to our Celtic roots, I guess, and take on this rule of law? It's basically that, to see that it's all an illusion. We're all being controlled, and the only way to escape this is through this event, what gives you the opportunity. And it's all about Venus. And when you can escape this event, you're basically free. Your soul is free. They have to tell us, right? So Stairway to Heaven song, and my spirit is crying for leaving. You want to leave this realm. A new day will dawn for those who stand long. It's just a spring clean for the May Queen. That's what she's doing. She's coming in and cleaning house and deciding who goes with her or not. Yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. So basically, they're just kind of telling us you have these two paths, and it's your choice. And you can have your spirit can leave, and get out of this kind of control realm that we're in. And of course, a more recent song, Drops of Jupiter, because it all has to do with Jupiter. Did Venus blow your mind? It's like they're telling us. And, it says, was there everything you wanted to find? And did you miss me while you're out there looking for yourself? So basically, if you get raptured, you're looking for yourself. You're not grounded. And, then he talks about it here. Did you come back on your soul vacation? It's all coded to the two paths. Okay, so Donald Trump Jr. posted on Instagram just for a few seconds this picture of JFK Jr. and Trump and a little saying underneath it that has been going through the Q movement, but it was really interesting that he posted this on Instagram. One of the Anons had sent this to me. So I'm really excited about this because it's starting to really prove the whole story of JFK Jr., and I want to prove how he's using his name of Juan O Savin and Vincent Fusca and how it relates to the Emerald City area. So here's a little clip of Juan O Savin talking about Emerald City and how he's focusing us in on that area. And, he mentions it being, the evil kind of Emerald City, that it's not good. It relates to the Green Man and everything. So I, I'm fascinated with this part of the country because of the eclipse that passed through there in 2017. And I totally believe the other eclipse is related to this whole puzzle. He has gone on about the number 42 and it being part of the prism number for the pyramid of the light going through, like Pink Floyd had that on their album, the rainbow going through the pyramid, because the angle of the number 42 relates to that rainbow. But I don't want to get into that because I'm going to do another video on the number 24 and number 42, the mirroring of it, and how it all relates to the rainbow and everything else. But I just wanted to put this little clip in here of proving that he wants us to really pinpoint into this area.
To witness this, when you see Seattle, the Emerald City, I remember years ago when people started calling it the Emerald City. I'm like, where's that come from? Oh, it's from Wizard of Oz and everything else. I'm like, well, why are you calling Seattle the Emerald City? All of a sudden, people are talking about it all the time. It hadn't been before, and all of a sudden they started stitching this imagery in. The Emerald City and the rainbow, because that's part of the symbology of Wizard of Oz, and we're over the rainbow. And so, this Emerald City, and by the way, Linda, you and I talked privately, and I was talking about the emerald, the Green Man. Satan is portrayed as the Green Man. Why? Because he hid in the foliage in the garden. And so, he's the Green Man. Green's a common color here, this Emerald City. Emerald City being a 33 in the Chaldean gematria. Again, this 33 showing up by the numbers. When Obama, by the way, did his portrait, where did he do it? In the garden, but no one's believed. People were wondering, what that was all about.
Okay, so this is where all happening in the Lionsgate Bridge around Vancouver, right? So then I'm looking around and I see Straits of Juan de Fusca, and they were talking about San Juan Islands, but there's a Straits of Juan de Fusca. I was like, are you kidding me? Is it like Juan O Savin and Vincent Fusca? He's tied the two together in this location, and he's often talked about Seattle, right, and being the Emerald City and stuff, and that's what kind of got me looking in this area as well. So there's a link there of his two names. Many of us believe that JFK Jr. is still alive and he's using those two names, so it's pretty funny. So I like to check out the names of places because it's all coded. And see this name here, Sequim? This name has mysterious meanings, which they haven't really been upfront about. So they basically, it was always meant quiet waters, and they're saying it's wrong. It's a place for going to shoot the once great elk and waterfowl hunting. So anything with birds and birds being shot, I'm kind of like, whoa, because it's the phoenix rising. We're the birds, right? We're the phoenixes, and that's how you want to rise and become, ascended. But you want to stay grounded to do that. But see, they revived it, but they didn't revive the actual meaning in Wikipedia. So they know there's a new name for, new meaning for this town, but they didn't put it in Wikipedia. I was like, So Juan de Fuscus, Fuscus' grandfather, Emmanuel Fuscus, was Greek, fled Constantinople. That's when they had that big, that was terrible. I don't know if you guys know about that history, when they basically I don't know, Christians, the Crusades went in and they were supposed to be freeing the city, but they ended up raping the people there. It was terrible, terrible history. The two settled first in Pelinopsi, where Ardronoscus remained. Sorry about the pronunciation, but basically, this is Fuscus's real name. It was in a village of Valerinero, and Fuscus was born there in 1536. Little to nothing known about his life before he entered the service of Spain, sometime around 1555. Basically, they're saying there's some type of confusion with his name, but the real name means John. Okay, Juan is John, and Fuscus, so I'm just like, are you kidding me? So he coded his name, Juan O Savin and Vincent Fuscus because it means John. I was like, no way. So not only is Juan John, but so is Ionis. So it's all to do with this whole area. And it ties in to the Ionian Islands in Greece. Okay, so then it says, because the only written evidence of Fuscus's voyage lay in Locke's account, researchers being unable to find the records of the expedition. So also the boat was named the Imperial Eagle, and also there was a long, much controversy over the discovery of who really discovered it, and some believe Juan de Fuscus is entirely fictional. And the 18th century British explorer Captain Hook strongly doubled that, with the Straits of Fuscus claimed to be discovered, even that it even existed, or something like this. So anyhow, but basically you've got the whole thing with Captain Hook, and the Peter Pan thing, and then Juan O Savin and Vincent Fuscus. It's all in here, and it all goes back to the Ionian Islands, which were the United States of the Ionian Islands. That's what they were called. Okay, so it's all relating back to the United States. And it was all about the Party of Radicals, a political party in the United States of the Ionian Islands. It was founded in 1848. So it's all about rising up for independence, right? This is what this whole thing's about, and that's, I'm assuming, why he named himself Juan O Savin and Vincent Fuscus, because it relates to the, being independent away from the control of the monarchy. And here's just a picture of the Fuscus pillars, and of course it's in Washington, Washington, D.C., Washington, Seattle, Washington. It's all connected. But what's interesting, this Juan de Fuscus plate happens to be, an earthquake plate. It goes up into Canada, down into California. So I don't know if he's warning us that something is going to happen in this area. And keeping my eyes open for things about the sky, there's a Capricorn mountain and a Mount Job in this volcanic mountain range. Then we get the basalts again, and then William Moon posted this pic about the ash on the evergreens. It's all related. It's all part of the event. See what he's saying here. The evergreen pine trees had tolerated snow on their whole bodies. And, I've done work on this about the basalts being a flesh magnet. It's all part of the rapture. So I tweeted, the basalt ash snow fairy dust on the harvest day will cover the evergreens. Basalt happens to be a flesh magnet. You too will float, like the It movie. And then my tweet got unavailable. So pretty funny. So this whole mountain range has this place called Garibaldi Volcanic Belt. And so I was like, Garibaldi, I need to look that up. I just had an instinct. I need to look that up. I've heard the name before. I wasn't sure what it meant. So, Giuseppe Garibaldi, he was a patriot, Italian patriot, a Republican. He contributed to the Italian unification and the creation of the Kingdom of Italy. He was considered one of the greatest generals in modern times and one of Italy's fathers of the fatherland, along with Camille Benso, court of Cavour, Victor Emmanuel II of Italy, and Giuseppe Mazzini. Garibaldi is also known as the hero of the two worlds because of his military enterprise in South America and Europe. And he wore red shirts, okay, the people that followed him. So you can see how the history of the independence movement is all through our culture. And it's the revival of this, right? We're trying to get back our independence from this, control system, the globalist system. But the symbolism that they're using and kind of pointing us towards is to kind of go back and learn our history, so many people fought for this friggin' right to have freedom. And now we're just all kind of asleep staring at our screens and not paying attention, So it's interesting, the history. I just love history. If you've watched any of my other stuff, you know the number 23 that White House Photos tweeted about is important. First of all, it's the day of pain. Pain meaning bread in French, which is harvest, which is the harvest date is on the 23rd to 24th. This is the harvest date. And I made a reply to this tweet, and he actually liked it. He confirmed it. So that stuff really gives me gratification to go, okay, I'm on the right path. So here's my tweet. Xavi Java star, which is the ascension star, is my favorite star. December 23rd, the day of the balsamic moon, is the ascension star. Everyone start calling your coffee Xavi Java. And then he liked that tweet because it's all about the coffee, the Xavi Java star. It's hilarious. It goes, the Confifi, I found out that means coffee. Okay, I'm going to do a video on that. You won't believe it, how I found that out. And the whole thing about the Xavi Java star is the angle. It's a corner. So when Willie Moon does all these photos with the corner shots of the buildings, and then you have the Freemason symbol with the the angle and the compass. The compass is basically the Silver Gate, the Golden Gate, and the Lion's Gate, because that's what it forms in the sky. And then the angle is representing the whole, it has to do with phi, the circle and the square and everything, but it also, the star is the corner star, the Xavi Java star. Yeah, it's all about ascension, this whole thing. And it's funny, I was looking into this symbol of Firefox. It used to be the mythical bird, the phoenix. So there's all this like negativity about the phoenix being like negative, like it's all part of the globalist thing, but it's really not. If you go in history and you start reading about the phoenix, it's always been about the soul becoming free and getting into heaven. And you just have to go and read and learn your history, because this whole thing about this fear that the phoenix is evil and everything, it's just for me, I find it really frustrating, because it's just people listening to people, and all I can say is go read, go learn your history. Don't even listen to me. Everything I say, go back it up so that it makes sense in your own mind, and you start to see it for what it really is instead of being told what it is. And on this date, on the 22nd of December 2024 at 9:99 in the morning, you can see the Golden Gate just appearing. That's where the sun is, and that's the spear and your shield, and you're gonna take on this scorpion dragon. Okay, the Chinese had it as a dragon coming through here, but this is the whole path. And then you can see the purple line going to the Aquila constellation, which is the eagle, which represents the United States and has the pin in its mouth. It's flying away with the pin that we've all been kind of controlled with. And then you can see the summer triangle, which is the yellow. And you also see the little fox there, clever as a fox, foxfire. That's all representing this path, okay? And then you have the swan, Cygnus, which is really the white cross that I've put here. You have Cygnus X1. Rush did a song about that. Go read the lyrics. It's all about going through the constellations and your path. And then you have the little green reptile, which is what Moses had on his post. It's being taken out of you. You're free. You're free to fly away and be in this new world that you've worked so hard to get to. You know, it's like this whole awakening process. It's a process. It's not easy. There's so many people saying one thing, and everybody's at different levels of their awakening. So you listen to one person, they're all in fear, and you listen to this other person, and they're all like, you know, woo hoo hoo, everything's perfect. And it's trying to get through it all and finding your own path. And so that's what I'm really trying to put this stuff out there, is to see that it's all matching to the sky. It's all matching to this symbolism that they've created with all the different cities. It's all matched to the numbers. It's not like just me talking, you know. It's really, there's some relevance to it, because the sky doesn't lie, the numbers don't lie, and the buildings don't lie. So if you can figure out your way through this and start to find peace in it all and not be angry that they've done this, is, you know, we all signed up for this, so it's all part of the journey, right? And it's just about being awakened, seeing it all, understanding it's all symbolism to get you to a place of peace, not to get you to a place of anger. And I'm going to sign out, and I'm going to leave you with a picture of myself, because you know, you're hearing this voice but you don't know who I am. I'm not going to show my face, but this is me.